have now reached the intersection where ideas, beliefs, and perspectives collide. So be free to be you. It's the Crossroads Podcast with your hosts, author, speaker, and transformational strategist, Barzini, and entrepreneur, empowerment coach, and tech diva, Dre Renee. If you're ready to talk love, business, politics, and everything in between, you're in for a ride. Welcome to the Crossroads Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? It's your man, Hunter Grand, your personal agent for change, making life easy, Barzini.
And I'm fempreneur extraordinaire, tech diva all day, Dre Renee.
And this is the Crossroads, where there's only one rule. Be free to be you. Okay, y'all, we are yet on another glorious day of recording this illustrious show, which is top 100 in the South African market in the category of relationships. Shout out to South Africa. Also, shout out to one of our sponsors. Y'all don't know, we do have sponsors. And one of our major sponsors is House of 334.
It's the house. Yeah.
So y'all check that out. Houseof334.com for all of your digital media needs.
Yes. Branding, websites, marketing, copywriting. Come to the house.
All of it. And not only is it Black owned, it's Black woman owned.
Come on with it.
Should that be a new category instead of Black owned Black? BWO, whoa.
Have mercy.
I just or actually, would it be boo? Because TWO is two.
Oh God! I was just. Oh God! I was not.
She was like, "Wait, what?"
I don't get it. Oh Lord, we gonna.
No.
What are you over there sipping on already?
Nothing. It's too damn early. But no, okay. Like for instance, like.
I get it now.
What is TO spell? Like people that joke, like they be like, what is TO spell? Two. What is TO? No. What is TO spell? Two. What is TOO spell? Two. What is TWO spell? 12. They're like, no, niggas.
It's all two.
Two. You're right.
Two, and two.
So yeah, boo.
That's hilarious. Yeah, my brain did not go there immediately.
You're right. I know. She was like,
I was like Black. What? Oh, I don't know. Middle letter. Black.
Y'all don't mind me. I think when I'm not drinking is when I get silly.
Okay. Well, here we go.
That probably means I've been drinking too much over the years.
My Lord.
I'm saying. So, in our regular, let's start off things with WTF. And I don't even know if this week is a WTF or whatever.
Wow.
As much as it is. You know what? I am hereby changing WTF to the fuck.
You know what? I do have one. I mean, again, I don't know if it is or isn't, but it's picked up some steam on the internet. I saw two different photos. One is with Lionel Richie with a super young girl. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
I
saw that. Like 40 something years. Different. Yeah, he's 71 and she's 30.
Oh.
And then
she's black. And she's black.
And then yesterday, I got to go back and find it. But as I was scrolling, I saw someone post a picture of Patti LaBelle.
And he's 46.
Okay, so you've seen it. So let's talk about it. It's May, December, May.
Right. Who else? No. And then I think there was one where Al Sharpton got a youngin' too. I don't know if they're dating. I know it was him. And then I think she's like 35 or something like that.
What is going on?
Hey, they getting their groove back. So you were saying, so what's the question? What's your take? First, what's your take? And then, or is there a question or do you just want the take?
I mean, my question is, does it matter now that, everybody's an adult, or do we still look at it under the lens of, you were 45 when this person was born, or you were like,
I'm not in my 70s. So it looks like on its face. Look,
okay, in your 40s, do you want a 70 5-year-old. How old is Miss Patty? I
think she's like 7.
Oh, that's also very different.
73. Like, so that's weird for me. Okay, so Patty is a hard one because Patty is like, and this is gonna sound real weird, right? Because part of Patty's personality reminds me so much of my mom. She's like the fun mom. She's like the really cool mom.
That's what I'm thinking. For most people, mom, auntie, somebody that's very close to you. I don't.
But also for an older woman, Patty fine though. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so it's like while she reminds me, while her personality reminds me of my mom, then I compartmentalize the other part. Like when I'm in my 70s, that's how I would love for my wife to look. Now, would I date a woman in her 70s? No, but when I'm in my 70s, I want my wife to be fine like that. Like,
okay,
man,
like, I get that. I get.
You see what I'm saying? So that's how it is for me now. But this is the question. It begs the question: what do you want from somebody in their 70s? And if they weren't rich, would you still want them? And I'm not talking about, like, I think it's more common for younger women to date these older men with money, and then they're like, oh, she's a gold digger, blah, blah, blah. Not always the case, but that's the stigma. So are they calling dude a gold digger is the question. Like,
well, in the comments, people were like, Patty, watch your money or something like that. Like there were a few of those too. And then, kind of the same way, I guess, that it would be in the reverse where people were like, go ahead, Patty, that type
of. I think it's usually when it's an older woman, it's like, yeah, go ahead, get your groove back, blah, 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 that kind of narrative. It's like they're big up in the woman, and they seldom attack the younger guy.
Right.
Because I think a lot of times, by and large, it feels like a loss for the guy. You know what I mean? Because we're thinking about the sexual nature of it. You know what I mean? And not always so much the money aspect of it, because I think typically when we see this type of a relationship, the guy has money too, right? We usually see it with celebrities. We don't really see it with your average people, right? Now I don't know who this guy is, but I venture to say he ain't got Patty money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there is something to gain depending on the setup of that relationship. If but I don't, I'm not gonna put that on them. I want to assume it's love. I want to assume it's love for Lionel and Al and their younger ladies as well. However, it does raise the eyebrow. It's like maybe I'm just being superficial in it, because I just be like, what do you want that you can't get in a younger person? You know what I mean? And then even the older person, I damn sure, like I have trouble dating young now.
Right. Yeah, because you was like, it's a cap on that.
Yeah. I got a hard and I recently tried it.
Tried to move your range down?
I did. Okay. I did. That's not a story that's ready for public consumption.
Yeah.
So we'll
debrief.
We'll debrief offline on that one.
Yeah.
But I can't. Yeah, I don't. You got to be if you're younger, like for me, you got to be super mature, like, because I'm old for my age already.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. That's my.
I was like, yeah. I mean, I just have a hard time with that. Like, 10 years, but
up or down, 10 years up or down.
In either direction, because, depending on who, whatever, 10 years. I mean, and of course, everybody being an adult. That was a lot for me. Like, I never even got to 10 years older than me. That always made me feel, as I was growing up, like they were so far ahead, like they are in the next thing that's going on in their lives. So for me to be in my 20s or even back in my 30s thinking about dating somebody that 50, 60, 70, they likely have been married already, have had kids already, probably have grandkids. Like there's a whole lot of other stuff that comes with that. And so, that wouldn't be my choice. But then, you insert this financial aspect, and that's what makes, I think, most people go, okay, well, I see why you're doing it, because otherwise, like, what things do you have in common? You know, the person that's older, like, you've been there, done that several times. Now, probably your kids are, oh, this is the part that's super creepy to me. Like,
your kids the same age as
right.
you?
I'm like, or yeah, same age or older than the person that you're with. Like,
yeah, because Lionel Richie's kids would likely be older than.
Yeah. So how do you then look at this person? I mean, it's a different person. I get that, but there's nothing that's like my kid is this age. I don't know.
It was something I saw me. I guess it was trying to be funny though, and it was a guy that was dating an older woman, and I think the kids were older than him, and he was like, they don't respect me as their dad.
It's like, pass me the cereal, bro.
right. Like, yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
That's hilarious. So yeah, I don't think I can do, like, for me, like, I struggled for years, like, being a little older. I guess it's kind of easier now, but I struggled dating anybody who was my sister Latoya's age or younger, because it always reminded me, like, you're my sister's age.
That's what I was like. So how much more with your kids?
Yeah, and I kind of like raised my sister. Like, I used to give my sister whoopings, so it's like I feel like it's like I raised you, girl. Yeah. Like, I didn't raise her in 7 years, but you know, we fought and argued, and you were like, ugh. And then, but I will say, my baby sister, one of her, like, her best friend used to be in love with me when they was little, right? Like, oh, I'm a marry your brother. You know, they 10, 11, 12, you know, and I'm already grown. You know what I'm saying? She and I are 13 years apart.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So when she's 10, I'm coming home, I'm 23. You know what I'm saying? Like, girl, go sit your little ass down somewhere, whatever. So, and then they got to be little teenagers.
So then when she becomes 23, she's now an adult.
As hell, too.
Okay, so... But like, you're saying, like, even then, ain't no.
Part of me was like, oh, like, listen.
Which part?
Listen, when I tell you, she grew up, and she grew
like,
up.
Remember when you had said?
Yeah, I was like, right. Part of me was, I seen it when I was like, bro, like, Listen, it was, but then it's still my sister's friend though. So
that's hilarious.
But her friends in general, like Latoya, she don't really do friends like that. She got a few, whatever, you know. But my baby sister got a couple of friends. I'm like,
that's hilarious.
I'm like, we all grown now. Like, she gonna be, you know.
So okay. And of course you didn't, for whatever reason or a couple of reasons, but would you say from the male perspective, like, you know, being the older guy, like, that's what it is mostly for them, like a physical, like, women my age don't look like that and probably don't. I mean, maybe that's on both sides. Maybe women are like, he don't need Viagra and he's I'll pay for it.
I will say I think so that is one aspect, right? Like the physical attraction, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there is, and I can't believe I'm about to quote Kevin Samuels, but when you think about the reproduction, you know what I'm saying? And the ability, to have a family and children, you're going to look for a woman that's a little bit younger, in her younger years, know, so that's another aspect. There's the trophy wife type aspect as well. There's a lot of things that go for, and a lot of it is physical. Okay. Where we do struggle would be the maturity aspect. Now, depending on the number of years, we've been told our whole life that girls mature faster than boys. So for all intents and purposes, there's supposed to be a level of balance with a younger woman and an older man as far as like a level of maturity. Not always the case. I was in a relationship. The youngest that I was in an actual relationship with was 5 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. And that was a struggle for me. Now, I don't know if that was like because of the age gap or just the individual. But she was 25 and I was 30 or 24, 29, so around there. But I struggled with, you're doing the things that my 18-year-old girlfriend, when I was, in my early 20s, you're doing the same shit she was doing at 18, And so because she and I were together for 7 years, and it was like, I pretty much saw everything that you was going to throw at me within 7 years. And so when I get with her, she's doing the same shit that my ex before her was doing. I used to tell her, I was like, you ain't got no new pictures for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least keep it interesting. Everything you've doing, I've seen before. and I see it coming. So my reactions were much different with her than they were when it first hit. When it first hit, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going off. And then that's when my brother gave me the speech.
Right.
My nigga. And so after he taught me that lesson, I fell back. I stopped reacting. And shit started getting real different. So now I got in this next relationship and I'm seeing the same shit coming and my reaction is different. My reaction time is faster, but my reaction is different, and it just worked out hella different. And so she was like, it's almost like being a parent knowing your kids. And when you were a kid, it's like, damn, how do they know? I'm like, I know this shit. Like, I've been here. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Just like, I'm not somebody that you can be dishonest with.
Right.
Because you're not gonna find out everything. Not everything done in the dark comes out to light, but something might peek through.
Right.
That might give indications to other things. So yeah, I'm pretty bright. So it's kind of hard to pull one over on me.
Agreed.
So yeah.
Well,
say that to say, like, dude, listen, I'm not shunning. If you got somebody younger or whatever, like, y'all want to do the 20-year gap, all right, cool. I'm mad about. I got one of my close friends. She's dating a guy 20 years younger than her.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, then it works. I mean,
I don't know if it's working
for the first time. Not 20 years. And there's a pleasant surprise there. So, who knows why people do it, but that large of an age gap, it just feels like it would be uncomfortable for one or both sides. Like, yeah, you're trying to raise somebody or you're trying to pull somebody back into, all you want to do is sit at home and I want to, go out and have fun. And it's just like, why even do that to yourself?
Yeah, and you know what? And I think it gets deeper than that. Like, do you watch Black Mirror?
No.
Okay, so there's an episode in Black Mirror, and I kind of paraphrase because what the episode is about is irrelevant. But there's a scene where this guy is out with a younger woman, and he looks at the bartender, and the bartender has like this blonde hair, right? A black guy with this blonde hair, and he goes, "Look at the dude with the Rodman." And he's like laughing and stuff like that. She's looking like, what? And like, she has no idea what he's talking about. And he was like, Rodman, like she was like, is he a basketball player or something? He was like, yeah. And so she goes,
like the Rodman.
No, she pulls out her phone. Got it. Google. She goes, got it. And then she gives a little laugh and then just starts eating again. It's like, you can't even catch my references in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And I got to wait for you to ask Google to catch you. Can't even. It's like talking to my students at school. And I make a reference to like, what's that? Who's that? Like, they wear shit that we rocked for our throwback theme days.
The disrespect.
Right. So yeah, it's real interesting. But while we're on dating, that brings us to our topic for the week.
Yeah.
So we just talked about distance and age, but distance and proximity, y'all. We talking long distance relationships this week.
Yes, air horn.
Right. Yeah. Long distance relationship. So can you do it?
Can you, as in Dre Renee, or you as in the general? Can it be done?
I was talking in general, but we already know your story. So why don't you share your experience first?
I was like, I don't know if people know.
Oh, I know. Like, okay, so I'll say this. Could you do it again?
Yeah. Yes. because, most of you know, as the show started, I was technically back in a long distance relationship with the deployment. So, and might wind up with that being a reality again. So can I do it? Yes. Am I excited about it? Have I ever been excited about it? No.
Listen, y'all, when I tell y'all she missed her hashtag boo, and then he get back and she's still between 3 states.
Right. It's like we on the move. We on the move.
I feel like she on deployment. Like y'all don't when we record, y'all have sometimes I don't know where she is. Like we're in the middle of a show and I don't know which of the 3 states she's in. Look. Boss,
gotta keep the profile low.
Right. I'm gonna start changing my background so people don't know. Like y'all my background just be, You
gotta keep it low. Keep it low.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I believe there are some pros and cons, and I'm sure we'll get into those. But generally at this stage of my life, which is why the long distance relationship, we closed the distance on that, was because I'm ready to be and establish my life with the person that I'm going to be with and get to know things about him that you only know being, in close proximity. I mean, you have amazing conversations and, you do little thoughtful things for one another and send gifts and all that. And it's great because it could be nothing, right? Mm-hmm. But nothing really beats having somebody, down the street, down the freeway, or in the next room, depending on what it is that you decide to do. So
yeah, but that's even a difference there, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, like, yeah, all of it.
Down the
distance.
Right, like down this. That's probably what the show topic should have been. But to be honest, like having someone down the street versus in the next room.
Yeah, it's all different. It's all different. I mean? It's all different. Yeah. And like I said, there are pros and cons, and not necessarily cons not to make it sound like a bad thing, but there are things that you will have to accept or deal with or get over or change that maybe you don't even recognize or realize until you're in the game. So for me personally, I've done long distance twice. One was both with the distance, distance is never fun, but one experience was definitely better than the other. And I'll leave it to you to guess which one was better than the other.
You already know. I know. I was on the phone with one.
It's like, child. Also, I think one of the major differences was time. So in the latest one, we were in the same time zone for something like 9 months out of the year, 10 months out of the year. And then a couple of months, it was an hour ahead. So that it was an adjustment, but not as much as the one before where we were going, east to west. Mm-hmm. And so that changes your sleep schedule, on both sides. Either you're up really early in the morning talking to somebody, or you're up real late. Talking to somebody. So even that, it changes not just your relationship. Not only do you have to deal with the relationship, but like your life, your habits, what that does to the people that you are connected with. Because what if it's check-in time? I gotta call so-and-so before you go to sleep, and you're supposed to be out hanging with your friends, or you're doing something with family. So it can be disruptive to your patterns. And if you're not, with that. Yeah. So you said you're afraid. What it break down your fear of that whole unknown piece?
Yeah, let's
if I can walk you through
more.
It.
Yeah, maybe I guess
this might be where where it's at for you. We might have to get you somebody that's somewhere else.
Nah, I'm cool. I'm cool.
I mean, you can bring them closer, or you can go closer.
Listen, I tried. So, okay.
Okay, let's start with your fear first. Let's start with the fear first, and then we'll go into person.
Well, the fear part, what is changing the way, changing and adjusting the way that I live, right? You know how I live.
Yeah.
Y'all, if a common thread, and Dre would say this, been saying this for years. She's like, he does not do nasty. I can't do nastiness. Like, y'all, I'm clean. Mm-hmm. I'm clean. I'm clean.
Borderline big 3 letters. Okay. Folks are like,
I believe in, and the crazy part is my dad is like, oh, now you clean. I'm like, fool, whose son am I? You know, now he's a 3 letters. Like, I don't think I'm as bad as David, but I need my space to have order, right? Like it, and for me, it's more about order, right? Mm-hmm. I don't like clutter. Even if it's clean, I still don't like it cluttered. I like open spaces, linear lines, like, or it throws me off. So when you bring somebody else, and and they're not just visiting, like I could hold on, you visit, and I'm like, you know, I'm the
tomorrow.
But even when you're visiting, I'm the you done with that cup? Man, let me get that real quick.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you like I'm that person. You know, you need you, and I'm passive aggressive too. You need a coaster.
No.
Right. Or you do that thing where you pick up the cup and you slide the coaster like.
Mm-hmm. Let me help you with that.
Yeah, you do the little you wipe it down and then you slide a little coaster here. There you go. You get a little whisper and then you pat it.
And you know what? When those things happen, so, say that you're a person, because I was mostly the visitor, just because of my lifestyle and profession or whatnot. I was able to kind of pick up and move, as you alluded to at the top of the episode, right? So yeah, I'm generally coming into an established space, and it's just like anything else, whether it's someone you're dating or not, you respect the space of the person that you're in. So yeah, you may come in I'm trying to pick up the patterns and kind of see what's going on so that I can match it. But if for whatever reason, something that I do or don't do is not aligned with the rules of the house, don't be offended by that. It's not your house. Now, at whatever point that may become your house, or you wind up in a joint space together where you have a house, then, of course, you will have to take those things into account, because the person doesn't change just because you're in a new space. But also, it's not just their space, or it's not just your space. So there are some things, and you got to give. You got to give a little, I am definitely big on, clean spaces, and I don't like things out of place. Right. So if you just, drop something down somewhere and there is a place for it, I'm like, why is this here? And I might not even say that to you, but just in my, I'm like, I got to stop and figure it out or pick it up. And so, that is something about me that I've noticed. And so, but at the end of the day, what is worth kind of getting into something about? Like, if it's something that you prefer, I think it's great to express that. If it's something that...
But it's not even so much about getting into it, but that can be a thing. It's like, have you ever... like something's occurred and it upset you, it annoyed you, but it's not enough for an argument, but you're still annoyed by it?
Then I would probably act on it. So let's just say it's a, sock in the middle of the floor or something like that. I'm probably just going to pick it up and keep it pushing. Now, if I keep seeing your sock in the middle of the floor, I am going to like, hey.
Yeah, I don't know.
That sock in the middle of the floor. But other than that, I'm just gonna pick it up and keep it pushing. You do have to choose your battles.
But I have work to do in general, because I've lived by myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I like silence. I like, like I'm in creative modes, or if I'm in a certain mood, like I can adjust my space however I need to for whatever mood I'm in, for whatever's going on in my life at the moment, right? Mm-hmm. And so now it's like you have to share that space, and you have to adjust your routines on what you do when you're feeling certain ways, because you can't just tell somebody this is how you have to act when I'm feeling like this. You know what I'm saying? That's not fair.
Not have to. But and this is when you start getting into the maturity of the parties and the relationship, right? So, without divulging too much,
well,
you know what I'm currently doing. And when your partner expresses like, this is a part of my life that makes me, and it could be anything from stresses on the job. They could be dealing with things with their family. They could just be dealing with things personally. We talk a lot about communication and truth. And I'm a firm believer, like if someone trusts you with that, because we're always talking about the fact that people kind of not necessarily hide their truth, but they try to make it palatable. But if someone, trusts you with it and gives it to you and you really love and respect them, then I think, you really owe it to try to figure out, well, what can I do to support you through this? If it is when I come home, I missed you all day. Yes, I love you. Like all that being established, but I really need about 30 minutes when I walk in the door to just decompress. Right now, barring me saying hello, giving you a hug and a kiss, like I feel like I should be able to do that. But other than that, I can take my tail somewhere else and do what I need to do for those 30 minutes. Or if you need to go to the bathroom for 30, I don't see that there's anything.
Well, no, no, there's nothing wrong with that example. But I mean, I think on a more complex level, right? Because I think I'm referring to maybe even seasons. You know what I mean? Like, I deal with anxiety. I might deal with a lot of frustration. Like what I deal with on the outside world, right? I don't have the space to wear that on my sleeve on the outside. So when I come home, I might experience all of those feelings and all of those emotions, and I can decompress, and I can do it in such a way that I want, and I only need to be palatable to myself. You see what I mean? And so when you're sharing your life with somebody, I can't experience those things in the same way when I come home to somebody, right? Not on a long term basis. And granted, I'm saying this having not experienced it, because in my head I'm thinking like she needs access to me as well. But if I'm closed off because I'm dealing with all these things that have nothing to do with her, right? And now her experience with me is altered based on things that have nothing to do with her.
Right.
And I'm a self-soother. So and then there's that part where she might want to get involved in helping. And I'm somebody like, I just need to be left alone. Right. And so now where does she get that, that quality time and that affection and stuff like that, and that closeness and that intimacy that she needs because I'm feeling a way, I need to be closed off to deal. You know what I mean? And so it's like those. Like, I agree with what you said. So yeah, that's like the small compromises, like the transactional compromises throughout the day. But like on a deeper emotional level where intimacy and connection can be affected, those are growth areas for me. I was like, I have to literally adjust how I deal with life. Yeah. Because now there's another facet of my life that gets affected by that.
Absolutely. And it's still communication. Right. Like, this is what I deal with from time to time. This is what I deal with like as much as and that's really my kind of ground rule or whatever. I don't expect you to communicate to me what you haven't figured out yet. But as much as I would like to know so that I know how to move. And then, my follow-up question is, how do I operate? This is my natural reaction, but does that flow with what it is, that would be helpful to you, right? Because if my goal is to help you, then I want to help you. Now, if you say like, there is nothing you can do to help, or, the situation looks like I'm always going to get the short end of the stick, then, I, as in like the general me, then the two parties have some conversations about whether or not they're even a good fit. Because my thing, whether it's a partner, a friend, or whatever, if you do not want to be better, right? Or if you do not want support in whatever you're going through, I'm not going to try to toss anything on top of you. And depending on the nature of the relationship and how much skin we have in the game, I probably don't want to be involved at all. Like, you want to handle it by yourself? You can handle it by yourself. Right. And then that way, it is what it is. Yeah.
I think because there's a lot of times where you may not know. It's like I'm someone. Even if you want to help me, and even if I'm open to, I don't know how you can help me because I've gone this far in my life, having never cohabitated or any of that nature, and I'm used to handling it by myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Outside of every now and then, I need somebody to kind of like vent to, or it's like, hey, I just need to get this. I need to say this with my mouth, and I may not even be looking for answers. And sometimes I'll say that. You know what I mean? Just like even recently, like I'm dealing with toxic positivity. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't need that. And I know I've done it before in the sense that you telling me your problems and I'm like, all right, well, what we gonna do about it? How you gonna fix it? Look at the bright side. Well, this is the good thing about that. But you know what I'm saying? And that's not always a good thing because I was talking to dad and I got frustrated with my dad because he kept trying to get me to look on the bright side. You know, and I'm like, dude, I was like, give me the bright side tomorrow. Right now, this is what I feel. Right. And I need to be able to live in this moment and just feel, because when you do that, you're invalidating the feeling. Because even if I consciously on a mental level can recognize the quote unquote bright side, it's not helping the feeling that I'm experiencing right now about the situation. You see what I'm saying? It's not about the fix or the ability to fix it. It's about the fact that I'm experiencing this in this moment. Even if I know it's temporary, I understand it's temporary, but right now I need this feeling to be valid. You know what I mean? And then after I experience the feeling and can reconcile the feeling, then I can go into the solution. You know what I mean? Right. But we harbor things when we say, oh, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's having someone look on the bright side. Sometimes it's more about them than you. And he was like, well, I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to give you the silver lining. You know, I'm trying to be a good dad. And I was like, you know what? You got 40 years of being a good dad. I get it. But right now, that's not what I need. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think that's the part he got in that moment. And so I had to go somewhere else, or if that, and then so I called someone else, and I was like, "Look, I don't need advice right now. I just I got to get it out. That's it. That's what I need. I just need to get it out. You know what I'm saying? Now after that, you know, I'm like, okay, if I'm just like, okay, I'm in the solution part, and I can't figure out the solution. Give me solutions. Give me bright side. Give me whatever. But sometimes it's like, if I'm angry, I need you to allow me to be angry. If I'm sad, I need you to allow me to be sad. You know, because it can go into the realm of what we call, even though I don't agree or believe in toxic masculinity, but it's that realm of not allowing men, and we're not talking about men specifically, because this can happen with women too, not allowing someone to feel those emotions. You then move them into a space to where they never experience those emotions, you know, because they're never allowed to, or they're told that they're wrong if they do. So, you know, it's a lot, but yeah. So bringing it back to, like, you know, we're talking about closing the distance or having someone in these distances, but just what about the logistics of it being long distance and being in different places? That, you know, like we can't even deal with closing or how we operate in in proximity, because we have to tackle the barrier of being geographically elsewhere. So like, you've done it. I was open to doing it. There was two women that, you know, in recent years that I've just really, really liked, like that are long, and they're both long distance. You know, I moved away. One was actually always long distance, and I even told her, like, at what point, like, I have never wanted a woman as much as I wanted you, like, and I told her that. I was like, I've never wanted somebody as much as I want you. But it wasn't really there for her, you know. And so one of my things is, people think that I'm super cavalier or this and this with, you know, certain women. There's like, oh, you just too picky. The women that like me, I very seldom feel the same, you know, on the same level or at the same time. And then the ones that I'm really feeling, you know, because when I'm feeling, you know what I mean? And they just never feel the same way at the same time, or at all. It's like that's just what's in the card. Like
that's
if somebody felt for me, like when I'm really feeling, if circumstance and proximity and all things align, like you know what I'm saying, I'll be Russell Wilson in this bitch, like doing you know what I'm saying, interviews and shit. But it's it hasn't lined up that way.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, so logistics, I would say these days, things, okay, maybe not necessarily these days and this age, it makes it a little easier, if you will, to kind of contend with, because the first time, I was young and broke. And this time I am not. So
not young or not broke.
Not young and not broke.
Hey.
So I was able to do things to close that distance more often than I was the first time. Now, also, clearly dealing with a different person, it was a totally different situation. So I don't even think if I was older and not broke that the first situation would have worked out. But I'm just saying, like, we went extended periods of time with, 3,000 miles between us. And so for the things that happened as a result, and because we were younger, it was kind of like, you can't even blame the person. I mean, you can, but looking back, I'm like, that was inevitable that was going to happen because, you never see each other. Now, what also happened, which is why, I have not necessarily been totally against long distance relationship, is because all that you really have is communication, right? And so I'm willing to kind of put myself out there and say that the more you're able to really talk to somebody with all that other stuff stripped away, you don't have physicality, you don't have touch, you don't have, you don't even really have quality of time because you get the time that you get, right? And they may be sporadic. So you have words of affirmation, which is my jam. You might have acts of service, just depending on what the acts are, but not in your face. You might have gifts if that's your thing, somebody's sending gifts, and Amazon Prime has made that very helpful at this point in time. But, generally you have words. And so if you are someone that does well with expressing yourself and you're with someone that can do the same, or even if you're not, you have that time where you can kind of dig and get deeper and deeper and deeper. I think that's one of the best parts. And now I'm not telling anybody to go fall in love with somebody in jail, but I think that's how that happens, right? Like before you wind up loving somebody in jail, because you really get to know, unless they're a liar, you really get to know the heart of somebody because all you have is conversation. What do you think about this? Them telling you stories about their childhood and their, favorite memories and the things that are going on in their day. They are probably expressing more of the emotional part of it. This pissed me off, or this made me mad. And you can take note of the things that make them happy, or the things that kind of turn them off or turn them away. And so I think, that is something that I could say as a pro of a long distance relationship, is that if you're really in it like that and you have someone else as well, you really are able to do some deep diving and connecting in that manner. Now, the actual distance, and I talked a lot about, time being one. So yeah, if the time zones are a mess, so I've done, as little as 1 hour. I've done as much as 11 hours. So now my daytime is your night. My nighttime is your day. That was a totally different experience. That was like, now for me as a night owl, it worked.
A little easier.
A little, right? Because it didn't disturb my rest or anything like that. Or when his work schedule worked where he worked during the night. So he worked overnight, which was my day. So I was working. And then when I'm up at night, I mean, granted, he needs to get sleep to go back to work, but there was still a time where that worked out to talk. So that was kind of like, okay, the silver lining, but it doesn't always line up that way. And regardless, to do that for an extended period of time where somebody's on the other side of the world or the other side of the country, many people don't have the temperament for that. They don't have the patience for that. They need to know.
There's also
this is temporary.
There's also a quick side note too that people have to understand, because I think for some people, especially those that know what you do, you know, being an entrepreneur and working for yourself, you would think that, hey, well, she could just make her own schedule and it'll all work out, but you're also at mercy of your clients. You know what I mean? Who
don't necessarily work for themselves. Some of them are parallelpreneurs, so they work 9 to 5 and then they come home.
And so you have to schedule according to your client's availability, which can make that even more difficult, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to throw that side note in there for the listeners. Like Dre is an entrepreneur. She works 100% for herself, or she works 100% for her clients, you know. But that does not mean that her schedule, you know, it has to revolve around where the money resides. Where the money resides. I think that's probably the first time I've actually used that reference. Go pop culture. But go ahead.
The actual, you know, the distance itself, the time zone differences, what that does to your sleep patterns or what you're doing in your regular life, whether that's work, that's hanging out with friends, that's doing stuff with family. Okay, you and I, you know, just having time for yourself, right? Because that's a thing. So all of those things can be disrupted in any relationship, quite frankly, but definitely in a long distance. There's the fact that you don't have a +1 for most things, right? I mean, you might receive one, but you don't literally have someone. I've taken my mom to plenty of weddings because, you know, hey, this is not his weekend in town, or, you know, or the extended time, he couldn't even get here regardless. He's stationed somewhere else. So that's a thing. There's, you know, before the pandemic, when folks are like date night, like my date night is with Netflix, you know, like there can be the very single feeling even within the relationship. Now, the goal is to not act on your single feelings, and to recognize that they're literally not even necessarily, you know, that I'm single, but you feel alone. Like there is not another person, you know, that is there with you or that you can potentially get to on a whim or when you want. Everything is planned.
Now, what do you feel is harder? Because I've only dealt with being single, right? In the sense, you know, or proximity, something like that. But you've dealt with the lack of +1 or whatever being single, but you've also dealt with it in the context of a relationship. So what do you feel like it's harder? Is it harder to be single, or is it harder to feel single in a relationship?
Yeah, definitely the latter. Because if you're single, you don't have an expectation of anything else. I mean, you may have a desire, but you know what it is. And it's like, you know, it's me, and it's like you say, it's always been me. This is how I've lived. This is how I've operated, all of these things. So once you're in something, right, and you have maybe you have experienced it, you know, maybe you have gone on dates, you have had this person as a +1, maybe it's just one time, but you know you've experienced it, and or you know the person exists to do it, but they can't, you know, and it's not even anything you can talk about because you already, like, both parties know what it is. It's not like you can go, I mean, you could, dang, I wish that you were here so you could go with me to this thing. But what does that do? Right? You just toss it in the rear view and kind of keep it pushing. So I definitely, I mean, for me, it has been harder to have that, you know, to be in something, but still have those moments where, you know, you are by yourself and you have to figure it out or show up to something, as a solo. And then, here's the next part when folks are asking about them, right? Like they know you're in a relationship. Oh, well, how is
and going?
He's good.
Mm-hmm.
Blessed.
I think that's like, for me, it's when you going, blah, blah. This is what kills me with the day. Like, people act like you're not out here trying to date. And I mean, I am, but I'm not. I don't exert a lot of energy in dating, to be honest, because like, should it be that hard? Right. But at the same time, it's like people keep reminding you of your age, like you got an expiration date or some shit, and for me, it's like, I'd much rather stay single and happy than to just be with somebody for the sake of saying you're with somebody and be miserable. But you got somebody, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've done that. I've been miserable, but I had somebody, right? You know what I mean? And then it was living vicariously through the single homies. And so now the plus ones and all that other stuff gets difficult because literally all my homies are married. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's out here, like, I don't have not one single homeboy.
Yeah.
And so we don't hang out. Like, we hang out when we can, but of course, everyone's priority is their family, as it should be. So when the fellas can get together, we get together. And while like they're all fam, and when we go through, I want to say awkward, but you are reminded when we do have those nights where everybody's there and the wives are there, right? And they're like, okay, hey Jay, and then you keep in, I got a single home. Like, I hate hookups. I think it's dope that you got a single friend. No,
but I don't mean she for me.
It's just so hookups are so awkward. And then,
well, definitely for you, picky is the only word that I can use, but I don't feel like you're picky. Like, I feel like you are very clear about what you want, but I think it comes off to people. And so I'm saying maybe particular is the better word. So the fact that you have these, unless somebody knows you, like knows you, and even then they might want to tread lightly. I just think that's something they should avoid.
But you know what? It's not so much. There is a level of picky, admittedly. Okay, cool. But it's not so much that I'm picky as much as it is I have developed the courage to not engage when I know it's not for me. You know what I mean? Or I feel like this is not, and it's because some people do, and they'll try to force it. I'm not going to force anything. Like, if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it, and I'm able to recognize, and sometimes I could be wrong, but it's like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm masterful at, I'm good. I'm cool. Straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because I guess it's working through that fear or that trauma that when I see things that are reminiscent of past experiences, that I'm fearful that history will repeat itself. And so that's something that I have to work through too, because if you even remotely resemble those things, I'm straight. I'm not that person that ignores the red flags. You know what I'm saying? I've done that before. So now if I could see the corner of a red flag in your fucking pocket, good, I'm straight. And I might find out later, no, that was my cell phone case. Oh, my bad. But still, I guess I missed that one, Yeah. So it's like I'm not willing to risk what I went through. I'm not willing to risk going through that again.
Yeah.
And so that's something I got to work on. I'm in therapy every week, so I'm doing the work.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's easy. So trusting that it's not about trusting somebody, it's trusting that you're not going to be this. That is difficult. And so when you couple that with, now you ain't even in town for me to and the ones that are out of town, it's like the other one. So I told you the one that I said, like, hey, I wanted her more than anybody when I told her that. And so there's another one that I really liked and spent some time with. I went to LA and we hung out. And I had met her some years prior. And I think I was like, oh, I was going through the breakup, whatever. I don't know if I can't even remember if we was official going through, like at the tail end. That part gets murky. Mm-hmm. But I met her. Matter of fact, I met her at a step show. Right. And saw her and I was like, God damn. Now, both of these women that I'm talking about, like, you see them, I see them and I immediately cuss, like, shit. Like,
oh boy.
Yes, like they just that fine to me, right? Mm-hmm. Because physicality is huge for me. So it's like when physically I'm just drawn to you because you my type in every way physically. Like,
okay,
you check off all the physical boxes for me, boop, 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 right? Boop, boop. And so it's like I'm somebody, because of the attention that I do get or can draw, I want to be able to be in a position to where some fine ass woman out there might be on me. And I'm like, I'm good though. I got that at home. Right. Mm-hmm. Physicality plays a part in that. And I know like it changes and, we evolve, but at the same time, it's like, I'm straight. It's like, for me to straight, you got to have way more than a fat ass. It's like, I see it. Cool. That is nice. And all things being equal. Yeah. You could get it. But I got that at home. I got this at home, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so with this one, we kicked it. Vibe was checking off all the boxes as far as the vibe. Okay. That's like damn, you know what I'm saying? But it was the distance, And so then you run into things like, are we at the same place in life? Do we want the same things? Like, I don't have children, but I'm older than the average age of somebody who starts a family. So finding somebody on my level of life and maturity in proximity to age that still wants children is a thing. You know what I mean? Right. Or for that matter, can still have children, because I've run into that. Vibe strong, like great woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, to have somebody, women say this all the time. Oh, I'm not a girlfriend, I'm a wife. And you'd be like, I bet, whatever. And so hung out with one. She said the same thing. She's like, oh, I'm a wife. And I'm like, okay, cool. But that's how she conducts herself, like with what she does and everything else. Just that nurturing part. Like, I'm like, okay, like and I don't think she was trying. The plus side to her is she wasn't trying to show me that she was a wife, right? She was being who she is. Right. And so the things that she does and the things that she did, did for me, that's just, she would do that in any relationship, not just because it was me. Like, if she chooses you, this is what she does because it's who she is, not that she's trying to prove something. Right. Got it. And for me, that's like, it don't get no better than that, because it's not something that, oh, we get together and all of a sudden your representative leaves and it turns off. Right. Because when it's who you are, it doesn't turn off. Got it. And that's what I respected about her. So it's just always something, no matter how good it is, seemingly, it's like great thing, barrier, like beautiful, vibe strong, barrier, blah, 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 blah. And you can't quit. I know this, but it fucking sucks to go through. Yeah. I would say, because when you were talking about like being with somebody just to be with somebody, that definitely is not a good look. But what I would say to what you just described is, if you're at a point, and not necessarily you, this is, to anybody that's listening, if you're at a point where you meet somebody, or maybe you already know them, and you feel like, all the boxes are checked except for distance, then there is a decision clearly that you make. Is distance, or the distance, enough for you to potentially not explore, I don't want to say miss, but not explore all of the other things that may make your heart sing. And, for me, I was willing to take the risk, based on what the interaction was and who I already knew him to be. And then again, I was in a different part of my life. I could reference the last thing and go, that was trash.
So I don't mean trash is just my general catch-all, but that wasn't desirable.
And Casey's listening.
I mean, because I don't feel like that anymore. I don't harbor any ill will. So I can imagine to be on the other side of that. Trash.
I'm trash.
Yeah. Not I
got a couple that would not even change that word. It was trash. Yeah. So I'm all kind of trash.
The situation was not, desirable. Like I said, I didn't sleep for a couple of years regularly. Like it was crazy with that, especially for it to ultimately not work out. I think that's where you end up putting a trash label on, right? So I could have looked at that and been like, long distance in general is trash because blah, 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 blah. But wow, we really get along. We come from similar backgrounds. We already, are friends. We have these similarities, but even our differences are compatible. You're able to kind of look through all of that. I think my only trepidation, I guess, was, when we're in the same space and we're not just friends anymore, what does that feel like? So I had to get, to and through that for me to kind of go ahead and make my actual decision. That was definitely a part of it. But I was willing and then having the conversation, hey, what does a long distance relationship with you look like? Like we knew from the beginning, how often he would be at the time I was still in LA, like, how often he would be in LA and then versus me going out there. Like, what do our natural schedules look like? Right. Like what, how does that flow? And then how do we then fit each other in? So it does. For people who like to just happen, if you're very spontaneous and that's how you live your life, it might sound like a downer. But for planners like me, it actually is helpful because you're able to kind of look at your calendar and go, okay, this time is your time. And, and then this is, I'm doing whatever else. Also, that worked for me because I would say that because we both are introverts and we do value alone time, that was kind of even though you do want to see somebody more than you do, you also have that benefit of whatever it is that you want to do alone, which I think really is ideal for you. I mean, while you're going through the process of getting there, right? It allows you to get there without having to necessarily not have a companion. You don't necessarily have to ask somebody, can you go and do and whatever. And when I say ask, meaning there's not a plan made for you with them because they're in a different city. So when somebody invites you to go or you see something happening, you already know you're free and you kind of go. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in that regard. But, again, it can be very, very taxing if you're the only one trying to make it work, whether that is the only one traveling, the only one calling, the only one trying to have, those conversations that dig deep. So it's possible, but there are.
Yeah. I'd love to kind of poll the audience as well, as far as like some of their thoughts and revisit the topic in future episodes as well. So, but until then, we're going to move into like our final thoughts. So your final thoughts on long distance relationships, kind of like overall yay, nay, kind of how you survived it, or even tips for somebody, or more tips rather, to being able to do it for those who are like kind of scared of it.
Oh gosh. I would probably say overall nay, because I don't feel that most people possess what it takes for it to be successful. But for those who have listened to this episode, you read books, or you're just a risk taker, there are possibilities there. And like I said, the things that work for me was, having a partner that also wanted to make it work. And that wasn't like, if you're with somebody who is against long distance relationships, then you're not really with them. Or if you're the person that's not really for it, it's not. You might make something work for some time, but it's not going to work. At the end of the day, I believe those that do work have an expiration on it. At what point in time are we coming together? because if it's just this mystical, whenever we do it type situation, that's also it's going to have an expiration date on it. One way or the other. Either somebody's going to get tired and not want to be involved, or you are going to have to put an expiration on the distance and close that in. So for the average person, I would not suggest it. But for those who, if you find yourself, like I said, you find yourself liking somebody, maybe you meet them online, maybe it is a hookup, maybe you meet them somewhere actually physically, but find out, they're only here visiting type situation. I'm not saying that it is a complete wash unless it's a no for you. For any other situation, hey, feel it out. If it's somebody that you would otherwise give a chance, if they lived where you lived, and you are willing to do your part and they are willing to do their part, and you have that time frame on it, or at least your best estimate, I think, you can actually make it happen. But you got to be clear about who you are and who that person is. Like, there's literally no room for the gray area on that.
Right. My final thoughts, I think, like you said, there's just so many more elements to, hey, I like this person and they're far away and we can buy plane tickets to see each other, and that's how it can work. I think if there's not a plan, or even before a plan, if there's not the intent or willingness to relocate at a certain point, because you got to know that this person at some point is able to, and is their life such that logistically that's even possible? Because like one of the ones I was talking about, it was a lot about career. She couldn't just up and move because by virtue of what she does for a living, you know what I mean? And so she has a house and a career and all this other stuff, and I'm not moving back to LA, and so there's that thing. And so if that doesn't line up, and you spend time with this person, now you're emotionally involved, and then there's no plan, intent, or willingness to close the distance, that's a thing. Are you financially in a position to facilitate a healthy long distance relationship?
Right.
Like, how often are we seeing each other? Are both people financially able to facilitate this? Because if one is doing all the traveling, or paying for the travel, it's like, oh, I'm buying my ticket to come see you, but then I got to buy your ticket to come see me. That can get daunting. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the financial status. So I just think there's just so much. And then dating someone who's far away, it looks different when you have access, when the proximity closes, because I still feel like it's easy to have a representative of somebody when they're far away, because you only have to perform, even if they don't know they're performing, for days at a time. Like when you're in town, on average, it could be a weekend. And so now when you experience the everyday version of that person, it's much different than that once in a while person, or the talk on the phone person, or the text. So there's just so much to consider. And I feel like if you're going to do it, I feel like being younger probably lends itself to do that more. But as you get older, and the desire for companionship gets greater, you know what I mean? And then you consider, like, how long are we going to do this long? And more than just, okay, we have to be financially responsible. We do the travel. There's a willingness and a possible intent. And then it's like, okay, how long do we do this before we decide to close the distance, or have when do we have the conversation about closing it? Like, there's just so much. And it's just, I think it just lends itself, especially for where I am in life. Like, I would much rather have it local, because it's easier to facilitate. And then if it doesn't work, it's easier to separate, because to have somebody move and then it doesn't work, there's that. And I definitely don't want that on my conscience. You done picked up and moved to where I am, because that's what would have to occur. Like it's just a lot. And at this point, I'll never say never, but just right now, at this point in my life, I don't think that that's something that I would want.
And that's it. That's the key. When and there's no gray area about it, steer clear from it. But, if you are open to it, or like I said, if you are in a situation where you feel like everything else is in line and it's just this, then at this point, I just need to figure out how to get over this hurdle. So, okay, you live in this state, I live in this state, or you live in this city, I live in this city. Then having conversations around that one thing is easier than me trying to figure out all these other things about you. I already know this, right? I already know I like you. We're physically attracted. We have fun, blah, 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 all, finances, all that kind of stuff is together. Now our obstacle, if you will, is the distance, right? Who's doing the majority of the travel? What does that look like financially? Are we willing, or are both of us willing maybe to move to a whole new place, or is it one coming to the other? What's the likelihood with that? For some people, yes, it is a career situation. Are you going to be looking for jobs? Can I help you with that? Send you some postings that, the conversation and the interaction then focuses on that. Not necessarily out the gate, but I think your preliminary questioning, do you see yourself being a willing participant in this while there's a distance? And then do you see yourself being an active participant in closing the gap? And so if you can get a yes on those two things, and you are a yes on those two things, I think you can work the rest out. But ain't none of it easy. None of it easy. But if you are no, don't even engage. Don't engage.
I can dig it. Well, y'all, yeah, it's always tough to put a bow on these conversations because they can go in so many different directions, and there's just only so much we can cover with the time that we have. But until next time, when we pick it back up, this has been another episode of The Crossroads. And always remember, be free to be you. We love y'all.
Bye. Have a great one.
We want to thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and register for our email list for more episodes and projects from your hosts, Barzini and Dre Renee. Until next time, this has been the Crossroads Podcast. And remember, be free to be you.